Hey, welcome to Roaming Minds. I'm Carlos.
I'm AJ, and here we talk about the thoughts that kept us out of all the really good schools. You know, those quiet spirals, the questions that keep you up at night, and the trials and tribulations that we all face as human beings.
This show is part reflection, part reminder. We're not broken, we're on a journey of growth. Please note that this conversation should not be taken as medical or professional advice. See the link in the description below if you require immediate help.
Every week, we unpack what it means to choose joy. Not the loud version that Karen is peddling, but the quiet, hard earned kind that comes from finally feeling like yourself again.
Let's keep this conversation going. Join us on Discord or connect to a peer to kindred. Let's get into it.
I remember maybe about a year or two ago, May-ish, I don't know. I tried to use one of the therapy access platforms that were around at the time. And I it was it was such a pain in the ass. I think I tried a couple to try and like get started. And first of all, I had a problem paying a monthly fee just to see a therapist. That was hard for me to swallow. I'm sure that probably would have been better because I went with the free alternative, whatever that was. I really don't remember which one I used at all. But I got paired with a therapist, and it took me maybe 3 minutes to convince her that I didn't have a problem. That I'm not saying that this lady's incompetent. That's not what I would never.
Well, how have you thought that you
But
didn't have a problem?
I mean, I don't, dude, I explained it so in such a way that she was just like, well, I don't really think you need therapy. And you're like, well, I could have fucking told you that, but I guess my whole point in all of that, right, is not that y- these platforms are useless or anything of the sort, because I don't think that that's the case. I just think that they're very new, right? All of these digital
Yeah.
mental health tools that are coming out are very, very new. Digital therapy is trying to figure out, well, what business model is best for us. They're trying to figure out how to make it more successful in terms of outcomes, more accessible. And they
Yeah.
are solving some of these challenges,
Yes.
but they're lacking in some kind of ways. And so what I first want to do is kind of talk about what I mean by digital health tools. And so I don't like this term. I found this term and I was like, I think that this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Mental health. No, no, no. It's mental health. It doesn't matter. It makes no difference. Do not make those two distinguishments because then one is going to get more attention than the other. No.
And that is, I think that's the problem. Like, well, this is a bit of a sidetrack. I think we try to differ. Like, if something is online, then it's online. It's like an online thing, and then like an in-person thing. So then you then create these two different factions. Then typically, because our life is geared more around being online, because I mean, it is Sunday morning. I just got my phone thing, and it says I spend on average about 10 hours on my phone, and I was, how did I do that? That makes no freaking sense. But like I am using it to study too. So like there I am like it's not I'm strictly on my phone scrolling, but like I'm
Mm-hmm.
walking, I'm watching lectures, I'm doing Anki cards and other stuff on there. So it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense for like that math does track. But my whole point is we've geared to use the person. I think especially like with mental health care, it is very important to be a part of that the in-person bit should also be advertised as well. It shouldn't be the solution shouldn't be, oh, everything is now online therapy, online everything. Yes, it makes it more available to other people, but we shouldn't be driving away to that. Rather, we should be incorporating that into the system that we have.
I 100% agree. And you've gotten way further than we wanted to get to. So there are a couple of things that I definitely want to come back to. So we're gonna kind of keep that in the back of my mind. The 10 hours, I definitely want to come back to. The um the in-person aspect, I also want to come back to, but
Yes.
I also want to make clear what we mean when we say digital wellness tools, what we mean when we say, or what to think about when you hear e-mental health. Or I really hate that term beyond all belief, but I'm just for sake of whatever, we're gonna go with their industry standards. Um, so really what we're talking about are things like meditation apps, like Calm, Headspace, CBT apps like Wobot, Bloom, therapy access platforms like BetterHelp, crisis tools like the text line and 988. And then
Yes.
we have peer support
Yeah.
tools, which is one of the things that we're working on with Kindred. We also offer tracking and insights, which is not big. It should be a big part of net monitoring and navigating mental health challenges, but it's not one of the categories that really gets talked about enough. Is how do we track this? How do we journal? How do we find those insights? And so when I was building Kindred, really what I was envisioning is a place for people to talk when they need it, on demand, 24/7. These are not support professionals. Please understand that. They're just other people that have been through similar
The
things,
most, yeah.
and providing access for tracking and finding patterns in your mental health. I mean, I'll never forget. I had a buddy who I think probably would have helped him very, very much so. Every single year, about the same time, he would take a trip to the psych ward. He'd just have like a serious breakdown, and I, I mean, even I noticed that it happened around the same time every single year. And without knowing the precursors that led up to all of that,
Mhm.
it would just keep happening over and over and over again.
Wow.
And so providing people access to be able to make those decisions for themselves without massive amounts of therapeutic investments or anything like that was one of those goals as well. So those are kind of what we're talking about. We also have another tool in development that hopefully I get to introduce in another month or two. I think we get it a little twisted in terms of these mental health and wellness tools. Again, you
Hmm.
looked at your screen and you saw, oh shit, I had 10 hours on a screen. But I was studying, I was doing this, I was doing that. I understand that. And so when I think about mental health and things like that, how are we monitoring our time online? Not just by time limits, but also by what it is that we are visiting. And
Hmm.
the first iteration that I built of our tool focused solely on that,
Yeah.
whatever this is,
Yeah.
productivity.
I, I was trying
I
to
knew
find the word. I was like,
that's, I was like, I have no idea. No, the productivity. And I realized very quickly that just because I spent 10 hours being productive, that doesn't mean that my mental health was good. And so revisiting that algorithm has been the priority to figure out, all right, well, how does that need to shift in order to be an accurate representation of our mental well-being while we're online? And how do I make that seamless and effortless for you? Is it about performing real-time updates, or is it about giving you an overarching view at the end of the day? These are questions
Mhm.
that we're still working on and in progress. So this brings me to my next point. These tools that we are currently looking at, I'm not currently looking, let me rephrase, not these tools that we are currently in production for people to be able to use came about because the landscape of mental health is changing. It has to. There's no way that it can't. Younger generations, such as yourself, you guys can be in a social gathering and all of you be on your phone, and that's a normal social interaction. For
Mhm.
me, I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? That's the craziest shit. He's right there. Why are you texting him? What? But again, those tools are going to be needed strictly because those interactions are different. I know I'm going to see a psych next week to talk about diagnosis and all sorts of other fun things. And they were like, well, do you want in person or virtual? I was like, meh, let's go in person. Why not? I don't mind meeting people, but that's not always going to be the case. Some people are going to prefer virtual, even if they don't have, even if they could make it in person. Do you know what I'm saying? I liked this thought. This was a really funny thought I had. It seems like a really silly idea of this swipe to heal. Do you know what I mean? But whether it is swiping or whether it is some other different form of technological interaction, eye gaze. They looked at it for 30 seconds. That's a black flag. I mean, red flag, whatever. It seems outrageous, but this is kind of where those tools are going to be heading. They're going to be using things like eye gaze, and eye movement's very important in terms of therapeutics and mental health. There are therapies
Yeah.
that are built off of eye movements. EMDR, the means of support, given where we are at as a society, have to change because we have new knowledge, because we have new ways of interacting. And so really what these very early products, companies, nonprofits, whatever one you're using, are trying to answer is what does this support look like when it's based off a screen? Or what does it look like as more and more of our lives become digitized? And each and every day, we are moving more towards digitization. Or maybe that may be the wrong way to put it, but moving towards what is real and what is digital merging together. I know you've been studying all week, but the what's it called? Meta just announced their glasses. I don't know if you saw those. They're coming out at the end of September. They're like upgraded Ray-Bans with a digital display in the thing. We'll see what it does. I don't know. I mean, it's $800. It's a lot to
Ugh. I know. Same. I
shell
did hear
out
about
for.
the new, what's it called? The new AirPods with the language translation, which is bad. Because I'm like, I can't talk shit about people in other languages now, which is, not fun.
I know. I know. Ain't that a sign? Well, only if they
But
have
it's
AirPods on.
an issue. I'm like, show me your ears. What's going on?
Right. Right. And so I guess then our next kind of the next place that we have to kind of move to is what is going to be better and what is going to not be better. Because I mean, we can follow the techno optimism and we can be like, these tools are going to be revolutionary for therapy, and they are. I mean, augmented
No,
reality is revolutionary for things like that. Even virtual reality is. I just don't like virtual reality. That's personal. I'm biased. I'm fine with that.
you
And
recognize
I
that
I
that's
really
valid.
liked. What'd you say?
I was just saying you recognize it and that's valid. Like, there's not
Hmm.
much to it.
Yeah, no, not even in the slightest. And so I really did like this quote. Just because it's accessible doesn't mean it's adequate. Okay. And that is, I mean, accessibility is an excellent goal in the short term. Like, hey, we need more access to therapy so more people can get help. That's commendable. But just making something accessible doesn't mean it's great. I mean, the internet originally made information more accessible, but digestible information? No, not necessarily. It was hard. I mean, it wasn't easy. So, just like with anything, accessibility is a great goal in the short term, but there has to be more that comes afterwards.
Yeah,
And so, some of the big things that will help is this idea of 24/7 access. You can get help at any single point in time.
yeah,
Um, the worst times for anybody in mental health um, is 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning when nobody knows what's going on. I'll never forget. This is not a me story. This was something that somebody told while I was, it doesn't matter where it heard it from, but it was a funny story. They were like, I'm laying in bed and some kid calls me. I had no idea who it was. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I just roll over. I grab the phone. I pick it up. I click answer. And, nobody really calls me at 3 o'clock in the morning unless it's for specific purposes. And so my
yeah.
first instinct is, well, do you want me to get naked? And he goes, that was the wrong thing to say because this kid just launched into a tirade about this, and this that was all going wrong. And he's like, hold on, man. I got to get dressed. I'll meet you downstairs in 20. so, so, you know, 24/7 access is a big deal. Okay. This one was interesting. And in a way, both of the it's got a pro and a con, so I'm going to kind of talk about that. Lower stigma, yes, okay, sure, because you're not like, oh hey, I'm going to my therapist's appointment. You're like, well, I just got to step outside and take a phone call real quick. Nobody has to really know if it's something that you don't feel great about, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So you can maintain some semblance of privacy. Well, the flip side of that is you have no privacy because it's on tech and everything that you take care. If you're not working with the right company, those data practices can get real shady and real bad real quick. So really got to be careful on that one.
Yes.
It definitely is a big lifesaver for underserved communities. Just telehealth, right? Or
Yeah.
teletherapy, whatever you want to call it, is a major ordeal for underserved communities.
I was gonna say, even for like to cut you out, even for me, like for example, like I needed to go to the doctor's appointment. The doctor is a 20 minute, and I'm gonna have class all day, and they close at 5. So I was like, okay, I have like 2 hour gaps instead of like having like driving and then like early making it back to class. Like we literally had 20 minutes. Like what's it called? The doctor called me and literally had a 20-minute conversation, and boom, like I went out with my life. Like it wasn't like so. I do. It is very important to like, have those things in place as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I know depending on your level of work-life balance at the moment, maybe there is no life balance and it's all work. Anything like telehealth therapy is a big deal.
Yes.
Um, the peer, so I'm personal to the peer-driven models because I think that those will help what we need more so. And this is personal opinion. Please don't uh
His
take it for
address
what it's worth.
is
Do you know what I mean? Do your own research. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then don't worry about it. But I don't this over reliance on science and treatment is not doing anybody any favors. Well,
Hmm.
science says this, and science says this. Every single thing that I get marketed on any social media platform is this is science backed. I'm sure that it is. I'm sure that there is some article out there that proves your claims. And I'm not telling you that the science is wrong. That's not what I'm getting at. But, and this is a big but, typically science looks at one factor across one condition. Well, that's okay. If you get lucky, you get into these much larger studies that can show and track across place and time, but a lot of them aren't like that. They're happening on very small scale levels with highly specific people. And so when it comes, especially when it comes to marketing, I can take the most obscure scientific research and sit there and go in and be like, well, this is science backed. And I'm not saying that every company does that. Please believe. But what I am saying is just because it is science backed doesn't mean that it is guaranteed going to be A, what's right, B, what's going to work for you, or C, not going to change. Science changes. New research comes out that debunks old frameworks, old ways of thinking. Just taking something as 100% certainty because somebody was like, oh, well, it's science backed is not in anybody's best interest. But that's a lot of what is going on currently. That's why I have a problem with it. That's why I like connection, because I may meet somebody that just sees it a little bit different and that can knock it a little bit loose that treatment wouldn't have come up with because they're too busy following, well, what's the science? What's the science? And that's okay. We need science. This is not a war against science. We need science. I'm all for it. Please don't get me wrong. My whole thing is just do your research. That's it. So, and I don't know, I don't really, I'm looking at our pitfalls list, and the data privacy concerns is really a big deal. Super huge. It doesn't, I can't stress that one enough. If you are not concerned with data privacy, you should be, especially when it comes to things like mental health. I know for us, we don't keep any of your data other than email address. I don't save conversations. No. The only conversations that we save are ones that we have to go in and look at, and because there was some sort of flag that came
Something
about. You know what I mean?
important, yeah.
Right. But there's no way I'm selling people's mental data. It's just not. There's a line that I got to draw in the sand. That's one of them. Unequal access.
That's the
If you
thing.
don't have access, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say
What'd you say?
when signing up, make sure you read. I was gonna say when signing up for any of these apps, any of these websites, make sure you're reading the terms and condition, because just because they're not keeping any of your thing doesn't mean it's not stored and sold to third party companies. So you want to make and typically, like, legally they have to disclose that. So typically it's all in in the terms and condition, and this is a bit of an uncharted territories. I know there's a lot of laws, and Congress is each state is trying to pass laws, and then the federal government as well trying to, because it is the wild west, so we don't know you don't know what's going to happen. So they're trying to create as many broad-based law that will protect people and also the companies as much as they can. And always remember, most companies are after profit, not you. So just also keep that in mind. Just
Yeah,
I say most, not all
it's
company, but most
it's
companies,
definitely important.
profit is number one.
Yep. Uh, Unequal access to things is also a big pitfall. Yes, you may be able to get online to use one, but you may not have the most updated cell phone to be able to use the new version that has access to more features that could potentially be life-saving. Again, if we have a new paradigm of computing, which is uh, pretty likely within the next 5 to 10 years, what is that going to look like? Is underserved communities going to adopt that new way of computing super quick, or is it going to take them X amount of time? That is a genuine concern. I mean, we have there are some long-term studies, but not long enough to really be able to determine efficacy of these tools. This is why personally I am of the mindset of tracking and helping to give the subjective along with the objective in order so that I can share that data with a therapist and get better insights. It is not a replacement for therapy or community. None of these things are a replacement. Even if we adopt augmented reality glasses in the next month, it's not going to be a replacement for therapy. That should work in conjunction with your therapist. And community is mandatory. You need a group of people that works with you, that supports you, that you feel comfortable and that you feel safe in. If you don't have that, that's problematic. And we want to definitely work on finding that community. Maybe that's what I'm going to write down here real quick. Give me just a second.
Took your time. Yeah, because I think what a lot of people tend to forget is like, yes, you can take the initiative, be like, I'm gonna go seek help. I'm gonna
Mhm.
do this, and that is a very good step. But as you're getting help, it's there are gonna be tough time that comes along, and having community, having a support system goes a million times the way because they those people are the people that will encourage you and tell you keep going, or they'll bring you levity if you're in hard days. Those are the people that can bring you a little bit of joy so you can forget about those troubles for a few minutes or a few hours. So having that community, and I know building a community is hard because the it involves trusting a certain group of people. But if you put the work in and you use good judgment, you can build. There are amazing people out there that are just waiting to be part of your community, and I think that's what we're also trying to do with our stuff is giving people a platform where they can come together because a general community is also very helpful because some people live in rural areas. You don't see anybody for miles, so having a group of people that you can come with and that will support you and that you get to know is huge. It does tremendous things for one.
Yeah. I one of the big things that stood out while you were talking was that idea of building a community, building a support system. And so all of these tools are aimed at increasing your level of support.
Yes.
That's I as far as I'm concerned, that should be the immediate goal because that is what is going to be the most effective for the people using the tools. These are tools. That is it. That is all. You must know how to use the tools for yourself. I know that sounds terrible because you're like, well, it's all on you. Yes and no. There's a part of it that as builders, we must take into account user needs, user privacy,
Mm.
uh, making sure that it is user friendly and not a nightmare, making sure that it offers real value to the people using it.
Yes.
But then at the same time, you have to take the other side of the responsibility and do your due diligence in terms of learning how to navigate those tools. What kind of situation is this tool going to be useful for me? Because that's
Yeah.
something that no matter how hard I think about building out a platform, I can't tell you exactly how it's going to work for you. Personally, I will never wake up at 3 in the morning and be looking for and need somebody to talk to. Why? Because I'm going the fuck back to sleep if I'm waking up at 3 a.m. If I am up at 3 a.m. and I'm having anxious thoughts, I've got a whole different problem coming to me. That is only me. That doesn't mean that at 11 o'clock at night, I won't be sitting there going, what's going on? But I'm going to figure out a way to manage that. I'm going to use the tools that are within my tool belt to go ahead and do that. Again, knowing what is going to work for me and using those tools appropriately in the way. You still know better than anybody else if that tool or that method is working for you.
Hmm.
We can go see a therapist, we can go see a psychiatrist, and they can suggest tools and they can suggest things, and they're taking their best guess based off of the data that they have. But you being you, you have access to more data than that professional is ever going to have. The best thing that you can do is convey that effectively so that they have as much data as they can to be able to make those suggestions. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And
And so it is it is not the easiest thing in the world to navigate and to find the tools that are right for you. However, if you are really struggling, it is definitely not within, it is definitely of the utmost benefit for you to go out and to find, well, okay, how is this going to work for me? That's what I think the biggest promise of digital mental health tools really are, is they will be new tools for you to be able to engage with your mental health. Again, things like AI, things like mood tracking and journaling and reflection prompts can be incredible data to be able to look at over time. And I'm not telling you to feed your whole life to an AI chatbot. Privacy policies, data concerns, please look at them. You must look for those disclaimers. You must take charge of that privacy aspect for yourself. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, whatever, because I talk about this with a lot of the kids that I teach, and they're like, why do I care? I'm not doing anything wrong. You're right. You're not. But even if you're not, that doesn't mean that somebody is not using it in the wrong way. So it's just something to kind of be
we were mindful of.
yes, exactly. And I think one of the best ways that they can do so is to reflect on how they're using the technology. Again, we are building tools to help out with that reflection, to make it a little bit easier, to make it a little bit more intuitive. But until we get it out and released, understanding here that technology is not going to just be the answer. Some new technology, these new tools are not going to be the answer for you. They're not going to take away all of the hurt, all of the anguish, all of the real issues that are going on with you and make them better. It is only through that successful implementation of the usage of the tools that it can begin to become a solution. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Just to kind of, wrap it up a little bit today. We've, had a discussion of going over a few things. Thing that we talked about is, what does general mental health look like? And AJ used that discussing word mental health. Ugh. But how does that look like? And we've discussed a few different apps like the meditation app, the CBT apps. Am I missing anything? BetterHelp. Yeah, and we just talked about Kindred, which is the support system that we're creating for all of y'all to use. And we talked about how the landscape that technology is not necessarily going to be, it's not the solution, but it's going to be part of like, helping everybody. We talked about how it can lower stigma and all the wonderful thing it can bring, like the 24/7 access. Because you never know. It might be 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you're having trouble, and that's just a good time because everybody's awake. But you can also be having trouble at like 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning where the rest of the world is sleeping. Where we talked about the support system. Your support system might be sleeping. So having this technology available is really will really help with people going further. And we've talked about the pitfall, all the problems that can come with it, the big one being data privacy concerns, unequal access that can come out of it. And as AJ just said a few minutes ago, technology isn't the answer, but it is the beginning to a promise, and it's a good start, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Carlos and I greatly appreciate it. Comment something that resonated with you today. We are here for support, feedback, or anything else that you want to share. Join us on the Kindred app, a perfect space to keep unpacking what came up during the episode. Get live, peer-to-peer support from people with shared experiences. Kindred is built for those moments that no one else sees.
Take this one step deeper by reviewing today's reflection prompt in the show notes. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and tune in next week for a new episode. Until next time, choose joy.